There are two ways to play Sultai: the Leovold way and the Muldrotha way. For the sake of fair and balanced magic, I'm not going to talk about the man so bad he got banned from Commander. And instead we're going to talk about Delve! As part of our triumphant return to Tarkir, I'm doing a video series on each of the different wedges and why people love them so much, what's interesting about them flavorfully and mechanically, and after starting with the flavor heart of Tarkir, it only makes sense that I would then jump into the mechanical heart, Sultai. The defining characteristic of a color wedge as an identity, as opposed to an arc, which is three contiguous colors that are essentially allied together, is the idea of circumventing or shoring up weaknesses, as opposed to the more straightforward of amplifying strengths. Mechanical identity in many games, but especially Magic, is expressed not only by what a color or faction does, but by what it doesn't do. Take green, for example, a color of large, efficient creatures, and also recursion. In fact, green is the only color that gets to unconditionally bring back any card type from the graveyard if it wants to. And the reason for this is quite simple. By being creature-focused, green doesn't fill up the graveyard by default. Indeed, when you play a creature and it continues to do its thing, it is notably not in the graveyard. And where red or white added to green would amplify its strengths by adding more aggression or stronger creatures or more creatures or faster creatures, blue and black are the least creature-oriented colors. Indeed, everything that blue and black do is fundamentally about casting spells that do something cool and then go to the graveyard. So what is the thing about green that blue and black love the most? Yes, it is the efficient creatures. I'll be honest, every color loves green's efficient creatures when they're paired with it. But what blue and black really love is cheap, consistent recursion. What black loves to do more than anything else is pay alternate costs for enhanced power, cards, and life. And what green-blue ensures is that you will never in any circumstance be wanting for cards or life, even at the expense of actual means to end the game in some meaningful fashion. And the only thing blue loves more than card draw is card selection. In fact, as any blue drafter would know, sometimes card draw is inherently blue's weakness, because you can fill a deck with card advantage and card advantage and card advantage and suddenly realize that your opponent has assembled a board, you have drawn your entire deck, and now your opponent can just sit there and durdle when you were supposed to be the durdly one, and you'll just draw yourself out and lose the game because you forgot to put gas in the deck. What does green-black provide? Why, the excuse to put only a single meaningful threat into your deck and then recur it over and over and over, literally sometimes forever, but enough times that you really only need to run a fraction of the number of threats that a blue deck should have to do to end the game like the rest of us. How this all comes together is, of course, Delve. The simple and balanced alternate casting cost, where you spend resources from your graveyard in order to cast spells slightly more efficiently than usual. Unless, of course, you are filling your graveyard at an exorbitant, insane pace and casting treasure cruise for a single mana, and then still having cards in your graveyard with which to cast Gurmag Angler or Tasiga. A situation that would logically have been outside the scope of the original mechanic had it been developed, except that this mechanic was originally a Sultai mechanic, a faction mechanic for green, blue, black, the color combination most suited for filling your graveyard with nonsense chaff to be fed to the grinder for additional value. I called Mardu fascist, and it is. But Sultai is not without sin, for it is capitalist. Indeed, what could better represent the concept of soul-sucking efficiency at all cost than a color identity that says, no, the graveyard is not an additional hand. The graveyard is the graveyard. It has separate and importantly distinct mechanics. And the hand and the graveyard must both be utilized to their maximum efficiency if one is going to achieve peak magic. Now, is peak magic ending the game in a meaningful manner? Is it having fun with your friends around a table? Ask not the durdler, whose answer is and will always be rectangles. Glorious, glorious, reusable, recyclable rectangles. Look how many ways I can recast this single card. Look how much card advantage my commander has generated this game without ever drawing a single card. As if such a niche technical achievement is a thing to be proud of. These durdlers, these capitalists, these Sultai players, no, they've played us all for fools. Magic cards were not meant to be played more than once per game. The magic card should do what the magic card says, and then it should be banished forever.